You want to grow your business. You want to sell way more houses, make a bunch more money, and every shiny object out there sounds pretty great. We've tested them all. We've test drove them all. We've coached on them all. And now we are prepared to help you with 10 amazing must do, must dive in, must use realtor tricks. And it's not even tricks. It's the realtor lead generation pieces that you need to get serious about. My name's Erik Hatch, my partner, Robby T, joining me as well. We're here in Fargo, North Dakota, representing a couple of companies. We have Hatch Realty, which is brokered by Real. We function as a teamerage within our walls. We are a team of about 55 people representing 4 different markets in the upper Midwest, primarily out of Fargo, North Dakota. Last year, we sold 1,023 homes for about $7.5 million in GCI and about $250 million in sales volume. So we are a little bit busy all the time with that and getting great success from our team members. In addition, Robby and I actively work at Hatch Coaching. We are here to redefine how people treat people. We're helping you all to treat your team members better. And if you are a solopreneur, we're here to help you with your lead conversion and how you treat clients better. So whether you're an agent or a rainmaker or an ISA, whomever you may be, we are prepared to help you. Whew. That was a hefty intro. Robby, my man, why are you excited about this topic today?
Well, I mean, first off, I'm the lead conversion nerd, so I love talking about leads. But I think there's a lot of, especially in a market like the last year and a half, there's a lot of misnomers, a lot of people spending money on lead sources and getting, frankly, little ROI for it. So I think we can give people some expedited cheat codes on some lead sources to avoid and some things that they need to be doubling down or tripling down on. That would help them, increase their ROI. So that's why I'm excited is we have spent money learning these lessons for you, and y'all don't have to do it like we did.
I can't tell you how much money I've lost in chasing shiny objects. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't get an email or a phone call or get some sort of somebody be like, hey, we can help you sell at least 30 more houses a year if you just use this one thing. And I want you to take some active notes. Robby and I will sometimes tell you, write this down, but this is what I think is the most pressing thing that you can learn. Number 1, write this down. Shiny objects do not help your business. They are a waste of money. It is chasing after some things. And I've probably spent $500,000 on the wrong shiny objects. And that's not costing all the labor time and the extensive things. Like I've spent a lot of cash learning what is right and what is wrong. The list of 10 that we have here is not an exclusive list. Nobody is paying us to talk about these. This is no space or place for paid endorsements. The only thing we're trying to endorse is, man, we hope you use Hatch Coaching for some things. We give away like 95% of our stuff for free. At the end of this, we're going to have a call to action. We have a really great boot camp coming up that I think you need to take a look at to help you and high producing agents. So we'll talk about that at the end, but there's no sales pitch in this. We're not trying to pitch you on anything. In fact, you can pitch slap us if we are trying to pitch you too hard on things, because these are just tried and tested and true. And we want to help your business to grow. And we're confident that if we help people to grow, we're eventually going to have a really great ecosystem. So that's where we're coming from, is just a place of value. So remember, shiny objects are the wrong choice. Shiny objects of somebody coming out. And if you have to go on Lab Coat Agents or the Hatch Community for Real Estate or whatever it may be and ask, is this a good, valid thing? The answer more times than not is nope, not a good, valid thing. So with that, I have not trademarked pitch slap yet, but I probably need to. I probably need to trademark that. Yeah, thank you for that. Here we go. We have 4 legs to this stool. We have 10 things, but we have 4 legs. The 4 legs are what, Robby? Because these are so important for people to understand that there's only 4 ways that you can get business. Only 4 ways. And if you think there's more, you're frankly wrong. So 4 ways. What are the 4, Robby?
Yes, the 4 different legs of the stool. Number 1 would be your PCSOI, past clients in your sphere of influence. So friends, family, past clients. It's your circle, your top 100, 150 people that know you, like you, and trust you. So that's number 1. Number 2 is low hanging fruit. This would be the Zillows of the world. Some people use realtor.com who don't, but it's the Zillows, it's the home lights, it's the referral based lead sources. There's some others out there like Dave Ramsey and some other things. We haven't had any success with that, but Zillow and Homelight, so low hanging fruit. The third leg of the stool is the long-term nurtures. And these tend to be pay-per-click opportunities or social leads. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a little bit, whether it's buyer or seller. And then the fourth stool is your reputation. And this is one that's becoming more and more important as time goes on. So that's things like Google, local services, reviews, YouTube, that sort of thing.
Yeah. We're going to unpack this list of things and give you the format as to why, but you need to understand there's 4 legs to the stool, and a solid business has 4 different legs that are operating. Robby and I have coached some people where like 80 or 90% of their business comes from Zillow. And they're like, I'm selling hundreds of homes a year. And we're like, you're about to lose everything. And when you build, the only leg that you should be building on should be, if it's just a one-legged stool, if you're a unistool, we're going to call it a unistool. If you're a unistool, you should be building on PCSOI, past clients and sphere of influence. Okay. If you're a 2-legged stool, it should be reputation and PCSOI, right? But a really well-rounded business, to have a business that sells 100+ transactions a year, if you are not lucky enough to have that be all past clients and sphere of influence, you're going to have to start buying some business. And so please understand this, that we need to have a plan for each of these legs. And that's what Robby and I are here to do today, is to help you with this plan of the 4 legs. So number 1, remember, we're covering 10 lead sources. Number 1, and this is in the PCSOI bucket, we're talking past clients. There's some stat out there, and 90% of the stats on the internet are made up according to according to Abraham Lincoln. But nonetheless, this I believe rings fairly true, is something like 80% of people say that they'll work with their realtor again, that they had a positive experience, they're going to choose to. When NAR, National Association of Realtors, will tell you it's like less than 20% that actually do. In fact, I'm living this right now as somebody who's been out of production for 7.5 years. I see on the hot sheet all the time, like, oh, that was my friend from college who worked with this agent on my team before. And that's, I saw it today. I'm like, that guy hangs my Christmas lights. And that guy also I've had on my radio show promoting his business, and he just listed with somebody else. That burns. So let's talk about past clients. Number 1, past clients. We have to do a better job at past clients. Robby, in the book we're ready to release here in a couple of months, Robby and I wrote a book. It's called The Perfect Real Estate Agent Blueprint. We have an actual blueprint for this. We talk about the importance of past clients. And in fact, we're naming, is it 12 steps that we have, 12 touches over the course of a year with a past client? Can you break that down for me?
Absolutely. So number 1, and there's no specific order here of importance, but we'll just break through all of them. Number 1 is reaching out on their house anniversary date. So that is reaching back out 1 year later on that house anniversary, just to check in, see what's going on, see what's new in their world. So that's number 1. Number 2 is reaching out on somebody's birthday. Yes, this means that you got to find somebody's birthday. And I know that sounds so hard, except for this beautiful thing called Facebook, or any social media platform that tells you it. So it's easy to find somebody's birthday. It's reaching out. And probably the biggest things that you need to know is when we talk about reaching out, it's not, hey, I'm going to write on somebody's Facebook wall. It is doing a personal touch where you're reaching out, showing love. It's voice to voice. If you are texting someone, it's a prolonged personal message. It's not someone's Facebook wall, because I probably had 400 people writing my Facebook wall, and I couldn't tell you one of them who the people were. So that's probably the first 2 are birthdays and then house anniversaries. Next 4 are quarterly touches, every 90 days, touching base, just to check in and see what's going on in people's lives.
These are value give touches. These are not value take touches. This is not calling to say, Hey, do you know anybody that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? No. This is instead calling to say, I saw this and it made me think of you. You were on my mind. I was driving through your neighborhood. I was curious. I saw this on social media, and you're finding a way to connect and to give value. And the undertone on all this is to say, I see you. You matter to me. You're valued.
Amen. Visibility is everything. And Eric, a lot of people think, well, giving value, that means I'm giving them money. I'm giving them something. Giving somebody attention is oftentimes more valuable than giving them a thing, because it psychologically fulfills the need of them feeling visible, heard, seen. It makes people feel good. And if you don't know what to say, like Eric said, go to the best CRM out there, Facebook, and see what's going on. Go find that picture they posted recently about their nephew or their kid playing soccer or something. Bring up something. People tell you everything you need to know on those quarterly touches. So again, we're through now 6 touches. Number 1 was the house anniversary, 2 is birthday, quarterly touches for another 4. So now we're at 6, right? Let's talk about the next 6 hatch. And I actually think this is probably one of the biggest things, which is we do client events. Why don't you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, client events are, I think, really important. And in fact, on this list of 10 things, I have client events at number 3. So we're going to get to that a little bit further down. That's our number 3. We're going to unpack that more, but you need to understand that we are going to count 4 touches in this list of 12. We're going to count 4 touches for client events. It's the invite and the actual show up. There's more touches involved than that, but it's the invite and the show up. So that's touches 7, 8, 9, and 10. Correct, Robbie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then so past clients is number 1. What's number 2, Hatch?
Well, you had 12 touches throughout the year. What am I missing? Or are we doing 3 touches for
it's 3? Yeah. Sorry, it's 3 for client events. It's invite, remind, and thank.
Yeah, thank you.
It is invite, remind, thank. So that's
invite, remind, thank. Invite, remind, thank. That's 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Invite, remind, thank. We have it in our book, but that was the section Robbie wrote, so that's why I don't have it memorized.
Yeah, I missed the cue. I got it now.
No, I got it. Okay, number 2, we are talking SOI, sphere of influence. Remember, number 1 is past clients. Number 2 is SOI. And holy cow, most people stink at their SOI. I think that a lot of times people are playing a short-term game instead of a long-term gain. And the idea with your SOI is that you want to be, and write this word down, you want to be remarkable. You want to live a life in which people will remark about you. And in order to do so, I think people oftentimes ask Robbie or myself, what's the best CRM that's out there? And my answer used to be whichever one you use. And I think that's kind of industry average. I think that the best CRM I have is Facebook. Frankly, it's where I have my sphere and they're watching me and I'm watching them. And I know what's going on in their life for the most part. And we can interact and I can connect with them. And it's usually a message that gets read. And like, your best CRM is Facebook. And so let's talk about a strategy with your SOI. And I think this is so important. The strategy is you need to be remarkable. And if you want to be remarkable, you have to schedule it. So let's talk about this. Scheduling a social media post is not like on your business page, you can schedule a social media post. Tomorrow at noon, it can go out. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you time blocking every day, 30, 60, or 90 minutes to spend on social media. And you have a standard where, like for me, I have the standard that I'm going to post 1 to 3 times a day, every day on social media. And I'm unapologetic about it. And I get so much feedback from people. There's so many times when people will acknowledge me in person. They feel like they know what's going on in my life because I'm consistently showing. So strategy number 1 is to show. Strategy number 2 is to participate. Okay. If you're going to participate, that means that you need to not show. It's not about you being the most engaging person. It's about you being the most engaged person. And you need to participate on people's posts. You need to take social media offline. You need to comment, and not just happy birthday and not just a heart or a thumbs up on something, but it is a deep, in-depth value give. And you have to get consistent with this and time block for it. Facebook actually allows you to categorize your people. You can put them in labels. So I could put all my old college friends in one group, and I could put all my realtor friends in another, and I can have strategy sessions around my social media. When I want to give great value, I need to not look at my list of 5,000 air quote friends. I need to know specifically who I'm going to reach out to and have a plan for that. And so, yes, you have to participate. And that leads to number 3 is you simply have to be consistent with it, because this is the long-term play. This is not a win that you're going to get today. And the biggest mistake I see people make with their SOI has never been told better for me than in 2014 when I opened up Hatch Realty. I was working with other brokerages before, and then I opened up my own independent brokerage. And at that time, it was January of 2014, and I got calls from all these people telling me congratulations. And then they invited me out to coffee and lunch. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait for all these people to say how proud they are of me. And we would go out to lunch, and we would go out to coffee. We would grab beers. And every time they'd be like, Eric, that's so awesome. Congrats. Tell me about your business. And I tell them, and I'm like, this is a great friend. They're really supporting me. And then they try to pitch me on their insurance or their copiers or their whatever it may be. And they ended up transactionalizing. They ended up taking my relationship and they transactionalized it. They tried to sell me. They didn't take a genuine interest. They had a take in it. And so with your SOI, you have to treat it different than that. And I'm going to name that in our past client piece of the great way to use those past client events in order to capture attention. But I want to make sure that you're clear that your SOI should never be transactionalized. In addition, your past clients in your SOI should not be automated. Please write that down. Do not automate your past clients in your sphere of influence. Because what happens is, Robby, if you're working with me on buying and selling your house, we are in deep. I've made tens of thousands of dollars of commission off of you. And if now I put you on a 33 touch campaign where you're getting generic automated text messages and invites and newsletters and all these things, I have not invested in you. I've reminded you that I sell real estate, but I've actually lost that personal touch. And gang, as somebody who's lost millions of dollars from doing this, please don't automate and please don't transactionalize your SOI. There's a question here is showing is not participating. I actually post 3 per day. I try to post 2 or 3 per day. And so I will both post. I will be engaging because I'm an entertainer by trade. So that's natural for me. But it's even more important to be engaged. So my social media time that I do every day is both for me to post. I have standards that I'm going to hit there. And then it's also for me to engage and take social media offline. Mm-hmm. Robby, anything else to add there?
Yeah, I want to hammer through some common misunderstandings about PCSOI. I kind of hit your point. The number one thing that where people fail at, four different strategies that I kind of talk about. The first strategy for PCSOI is doing nothing. And that's the worst strategy because people just forget you. It's why your stat, you said 80% say they plan on using their agent. And simply the reason they don't is they literally forget you because you're invisible. Number 2 is you automate it, and automation gets sniffed out with past clients. And I think there's certain things you can automate. There's some little pieces of things.
Automation is in addition to and not in place of.
Exactly. But do not send me an email on my birthday or house anniversary that is 100% automated. That is straight trash. So that's number 2. I think it's a poor strategy. The third strategy that people have with PCSOI is reaching out and asking their people for business. And I would actually argue this one could be, in some cases, the worst because you end up alienating a lot of people. And
so let's pause there for a moment because this is a really good list. Yeah. And I've never heard you talk about this before. So this is a value gift for me. When I 10 years ago was with a national brokerage, I was with Keller Williams, and I have mad respect for KW. I took a class called Bold, and a lot of you have taken Bold. It is Business Objective of Life by Design, and it tells you and teaches you like, hey, You need to be ferocious in your lead generation, and you need to actually set big goals, follow through with it, call your people. And I'm like, this is all really great. And then here's the script. And by the way, that word script makes my skin crawl. The script is hey, Robby, this is Erik with Hatch Realty. I'm in a competition right now, and the goal is to see who can get the most referrals by the end of the day. So who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest that I can call today? And what I've done now is I've taken that and I've just made Robby feel like, yes, the competition piece takes a little bit of the slime out of it. But I've called him trying to take instead of to give. So I want to take that same bold mentality here. This is my gift for you today. I want you to take that bold mentality and do this. Hey, Robby, this is Erik with Hatch Realty. Can I talk business with you for just a moment?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Listen, this market has been crazy lately, and I've seen that houses have appreciated 20 to 25% over the last year. I'm working on sharpening my tools here. Can I give you a home evaluation? Can I learn a little bit more about your house and let you know what I think it's worth today versus what it was worth maybe 12 months ago? Can I give you a free home evaluation today?
Sure, I think that'd be fine.
Okay. So what happens if you take that mentality of bold, of like, I'm going to call, and I'm going to be relentless at lead generation, but your call is not a take, your call is a give. Okay. I'm going to give you a home valuation. I'm going to invite you to this event. I'm going to just show that you matter to me. Okay. Take that same mentality here and don't take, but give. There is my one-off.
Which is what strategy number 4 is give, and give.
Yeah.
And here's what's really funny is when you give, oftentimes you don't even have to ask. Rather, what happens when you give, and we'll talk about this in a moment with client events, is you create this sense of reciprocity that because you've given people value, they feel indebted to you and they give you value back. And guess what? They're not going to give you a CMA back. They're not going to give you a free Costco pie back. What they're going to do oftentimes is give you their business or other people's business in the form of positive words, saying, hey, you got to work with Robby over at Hatch. So what it really comes down to is, again, the 4 strategies. 1 is do nothing, terrible. Number 2 is automate. It should never be done by itself. Number 3 is asking. Should not be done. It alienates your PCSOI, and have fun seeing them at the grocery market or at Costco the next weekend. It makes it awkward as heck. Number 4 is give. Find a way to take that bold mentality, which is simply do the work. That's what was great about bold, right? Get out there, do the work, have conversations, but measure giving value instead of asking for it. So number 4, give.
Spot on. Let's go back to our top 10 list here. Number 1, past clients. Number 2, sphere of influence, SOI. Number 3, let's talk client events. And I want you to write out client events and then cross off the word client.
Funny.
Okay, no, it's the language that I'm going to slip into. It's what our industry knows, but these events are not solely for clients. We do something every February called date night, and we're giving away a large take and bake pizza, a 6-pack of beer, or a 2-liter of soda, or a bottle of wine, and people come to our office all day and pick it up. We gave away 1,500 date night packages this last February. And in that time, we survey and we ask, how did they come to us? Are they a past or current client? Are they simply a sphere of someone? Or did they hear about us through Facebook or from radio, that sort of advertising piece? And of those, we found that like 15% of people had no relationship with us whatsoever. About 40% of people had been a past client of ours, and about 45% of people, if my math is right there, about 45% of people have been friends of ours, but not current clients. And these events that you do, and Robby, I'll tell you the different kinds of events that you can do. These events that you do serve as a point, and the point of anything in your PCSOI, this first leg of the stool, is that you want these people to feel heard, seen, valued, and cared for. Seeing and acknowledging them, letting them know that they matter, is the point of all of this. Now, remember, there's three things: you invite, you remind, and then you thank. There's 3 touches on each of these client events. And we say you should do at least 2 events a year. But I want to tell you what happens in all reality is you're going to actually send 3 or 4 invites over the course of 3 weeks. Facebook messages, emails, text messages, mailers, phone calls, pop bys. You're doing whatever you can to get these people to respond. You will not get the majority of people that will sign up until probably the 7 to 10 days before the event, because most people aren't thinking that far in advance. And usually they need to be reminded and nudged a few times. I will automate the messages, like meaning I'll copy and paste the same thing. After, I'll send a sentence or 2. It'll be like, hey, Robbie, how was Orlando last week? By the way, I haven't seen you sign up for our Pi Day coming up yet. And then I'll just copy and paste all the details of his call to action. But I will customize the first before I will copy and paste. Then there's the reminder the day before and the day of. Robbie, don't forget, pick up your pie tomorrow at from 4 to 7 p.m. And the day of, don't forget, we'll see you today at 4 to 7. That can be totally automated. Okay. Then you see that person in person after the event. The thank you call is the gift. If they didn't show up, you call and make sure they're okay. And you'll get 15% of people that won't show up no matter how great you are. Yep. But then I just say, hey man, how was Thanksgiving? How was the pie? Man, I appreciate seeing you, right? You're naming all this. And this is where the gold is. And Terry says you can use Apple's text replacement feature to automate the second half of that text. I have an Android, Terry, so I'll take your word for it.
I was going to say, Eric has no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm cool. I'm good. Here's the gift is on the thank you call. What I'm going to say is, hey, Robbie, would you mind if I gave you a call next week? I want to talk business for just a minute. Okay. On the thank you call, after I thank him, I then say, Robbie, can I call you next week to talk about business? I'm framing it in a different kind of context. And I've given him a pie. I've given him my time. I've given him affirmation. And now I'm naming something as an actual business conversation. I'm not going to sour anything else. So the follow-up call the next week is this. I'll say, hey, Robbie, do you have another quick minute to talk business, as I said? And you're going to say, yeah, sure. And so I'll say, listen, I recognize that I have missed out on some big opportunities, and Emily and I have really big goals for this year. I've heard from people all the time saying, oh man, I referred you to a coworker or a family member, but rare does that person ever call me. And I recognize that I've been the problem because I haven't taught my friends and my clients on how to give a referral. So can I teach you on the best way to give me a referral if you believe I'm worthy of it? Okay, so here's what you need to do is if you know of somebody that's looking to buy or sell, I just want you to text me and them in the same text thread. Just make an introduction and I'll get you out of the way. But that's the greatest thing is to put the ball in my court so I can take it and run. So Robbie, is it cool with you that if you think I'm worthy of a referral and you know somebody looking, would you mind just texting me and them in the same thread? And that's it. Gang, you will be blown away at how many more texts and calls you'll get. And notice I didn't take anything in that. I taught. I didn't take, I taught. It is a huge fundamental difference. Robbie, we spent a lot of time talking about PCSOI here. What are we missing? I know you're going to talk about the different kinds of client events that we can do.
Yeah, I'll run very quickly. And really, I think we almost have to change. We always say invite, remind, thank. I think we have to actually turn into a invite, remind, thank, and then teach in those 4 different touches, because you're spot on. It's that little teaching piece that's so valuable. Let's just talk real quick details on client events. I'm going to hammer through a lot in 2 minutes. This is all recorded. If you're like, man, I missed this, we'll go watch the recording, back to it. First off, every client event that you should ever do, draw off the term client, like you said, open it to everybody. We post it on Facebook. Anybody can sign up. I will happily give somebody $5, $10, $15, $20 of value, because it makes it a hell of a lot more likely they're going to buy and basically give our business $7,500 or whatever the number is. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, always do a nonprofit component to it. I think it's one of the biggest things that we've learned is always do some type of fundraisers, whether it's canned goods or clothing or diapers or something for the YWCA, or money or whatever it is, or maybe a combination of both. Do some good with your client events. It creates this really cool feeling, and there's also some really great marketability pieces that happen with it, to just be very, very frank. There's nothing cooler than a trailer full of goods going to the YWCA after your client events. Next thing, Get vendor sponsors. Don't just do it yourself. Oftentimes, if you play it right, you can get paid to do these things and zero cost these.
Let me put an asterisk on it. Is you can't get paid. You can zero cost it. You can't charge more than what the actual event is. There's a lot of RESPA rules around that, but you can get the entire event paid for by sponsors.
100%.
Robbie, in the 1,500 packages we gave out, and each one's valued at $15, and with marketing it was a $30,000 event. Our actual hard cost on that was $5,000.
There it is, right? Basically, what is that? 75% off for us. And the way to do that is think of financial advisors, inspectors, mortgage, title. We've done stuff with local daycares. It's really just relationships with people in the community and other businesses that you can pair with that are willing to partake in really cool events like this. So again, try to zero base this for you all in some way, shape, or form. For us, the biggest headache is, well, not headache, but it's a lot of manpower, and we do almost everything on our end. Here's the two big client events that we do every single year. We used to do a third. I'm curious to hear what you say about that, Hatch. But the big two that we do every single year are Pie Day. So we give away a free pie from Costco right before Thanksgiving. This year we gave away how many pies, Hatch?
1,900.
1,900 pies to people in our 4 different markets. The vast majority of those were in our Fargo market. If we run our numbers, Hash, we probably have a solid 2.5 to 3% of all households in Fargo partaking in our client event, which is just ludicrous. And it's really funny because in Fargo, Fargo's a big city, but it takes 15, 20 minutes for people to drive to our office, come through the line, drive home. It's about a 45-minute to an hour investment that they're making. And people do it. They literally could pick up the $6 pie at Costco the weekend before and they know it, but they don't. They come to our office instead because
they give $40 for charity while they're there. Yep.
And they give $40 for charity. It's not, and that's what people don't realize is it's not about the gift, it's about the intent and the feeling of being seen, heard, and partaking and belonging. And we as humans have this natural desire to belong. And that's a big piece of what we're doing with our client events is we're creating a sense of belonging and visibility for people. And we're just showing them love, frankly. That's it. So that's Pie Day. Usually we did a drive-through version as it scaled. People came back through Pie Day this year and we had stuff inside the office. It was kind of a fun thing. Secondly, we also did date night. Date night, we give away free pizza, 6-pack of beer or 2-liter soda or wine. Same concept. At that event, we had over 2,000 Hatch.
1,500 households, and then the third one here, and then we're gonna have to move on. Yes. The third one is we do something called Hatch Stock. It's a big parking lot party celebrating families. Don't think, as we talk about these numbers, don't think that you have to go big on client events. I actually think they're best when they're like 50 or 100 people or less. Intimacy matters in this. We just have, as a large organization, we have to run like this. A small client event is more effective than a large client event. Hear that very clearly on this. We talked about the first 3 in our first half hour here, and we have 7 more to get to in the next 20 minutes. So we're going to go fast. We talked about PCSOI, past client sphere of influence, and client events. Those are the big 3. Now we're talking low-hanging fruit, and we have 2 categories for low-hanging fruit. The first is Zillow and Realtor.com. These are any kind of people that are called portal leads. These are folks that are signing up saying, I want to see a house today. This is a place I want to see, and you need to be the person to open that door. Robbie, why is this good and why is this bad?
Good, it converts quicker and at higher conversion rates. Usually what we'd see is a 7 to 10% conversion rate. And then on top of that, the conversion cycle is 120 days, give or take. So that's from that lead hitting your inbox to a closed transaction. To a close. So when they hit, it tends to be pretty quick, right? Here's the pain point. It ain't cheap.
And they now want part of the commission because they're seeing the dollars that they could charge on a cost per lead basis is less than what they can make when they actually receive 30 to 35% of the commission. Veterans United and Dave Ramsey, they're showing up and doing that. Zillow, Realtor.com, they're all showing up to do that. It is the trend that's happening right now. And if you are addicted to these, you're addicted to getting a third knocked off of your commission every time.
Amen. And I actually think two things. If you are a premier agent, so you're buying the leads, what we're seeing is every single market where there is flex and premier agent is that Zillow seems to be taking more and more away from the premier agents and giving it to the flex partners as the flex partners grow. And the way they do that is they raise the prices on the premier agents. People drop out. They don't really care because it's going to the flex partners, or they make more money. The other big thing I'll say is there is no chance in hell that a few years down the road that they'll only be charging 35%. They will absolutely be raising it to a higher percentage and be taking more of their money. So yeah, that's Zillow. So the good of it is it converts at a higher rate. I will say this, most teams that are buying it and giving out to agents lose money or barely break even or make a little bit of money. Buying Zillow leads and working those yourself, there's a lot more margin there. But
let's talk full transparency. We spend as Hatch Realty $40,000 or $50,000 a month on Zillow. I made 10% on my money. So for every 40,000 I spent, I made 44,000 back. However, it is part of my 4-leg strategy because I'm able to feed my agents with that business, and then they're bringing in more past clients and sphere of influence. Because of the 1,000+ homes we sold, 60% of those were PCSOI. So it's a part of my larger strategy. And if it is your only strategy, you are financially not going to be relevant in the next few years.
And if you're going to cut off one of these legs, this would be the first leg I would cut off and avoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Next up, we are still in the low-hanging fruit. We are talking about HomeLight. If you have not ventured over to HomeLight, it is something worth taking a look at. So HomeLight is going to be available over at homelight.com/agents. They can help you to close more deals. You're still going to pay the 30 or 35% for this, but HomeLight is a large player that's out there right now. Again, you're paying to play here. You don't have to invest that cash out of your pocket. However, do not have your business solely relying on these lead sources.
And a fun little fact, Hatch, guess who owns HomeLight?
It's not you or me.
Google.
I didn't know that.
Google was the seed investor in HomeLight.
Okay, so that makes sense why HomeLight shows up in the top portions all the time. Look at that. Okay, I'm learning something.
It's the ongoing war that people aren't seeing, but kind of the nerds like me know about is Zillow versus Google.
Yeah.
That's that. Basically, Google de-ranked all the algorithms of Zillow reviews, which we'll talk about in reputation, and everything turned into Google reviews on Google. And they completely like whitewashed Zillow reviews in the algorithm. And it used to be, if you Googled top real estate agent, it showed the Zillow reviews. They're way down on page 1 now. It's crazy.
Yeah. The Zillow versus Google war is something we'll cover here in just a moment. Okay, we're now in long-term nurtures. Remember, we covered PCSOI, then low-hanging fruit. We're on number 6 here for the list of 10, and this is now categorized as a long-term nurture. Robbie, this is your baby, pay-per-click advertising. Tell us all about what we need to know.
All right, so let's talk about the good and the bad. First off, a PPC lead, as long as it's a buyer PPC lead, I don't care where you get it from. They all convert roughly at the same percentages. It doesn't matter if you're getting it from a Commissions Inc. or YLOPO or Sierra or Boomtown. The leads are very similar because all they were was a lead that Googled something like homes in Fargo, and all they want to do is look at some homes. With these leads, when they come through as a form, you should realize that that form is worthless. Why? They don't want to give you accurate information. They want to view houses. And your form you're having them fill out, they just want to view the houses as soon as possible. So PPC is, buyer PPC is, when we look at the numbers, we convert about 4% to close, and that takes 640 plus days to get there.
Market average is about 2%.
Yes,
I
would even say 1% actually is what I generally say. 2% is the good people that we get to see. 3% is solid, 4 is really, really good. 1% is pretty normal. It's a long-term play though.
And you said 600 plus days from the time in which it hits your inbox until it closes on average?
Because we're closing at 4%. Basically, we're closing long-term stuff that people don't get. A lot of people with their PPC, they take the stuff that converts year one, and if it doesn't convert then, they just let it die in their database. We, of course, are always recycling and re-nurturing our database. I think buyer PPC is one of the best legs of the business you can create for the cost of the leads and the control of the costs. A PPC lead has stayed pretty static in price, where Zillow and Realtor.coms have gone up exponentially in price the last few years. PPC is about the same price it was a few years ago. I would say this, with long-term nurturers, I have not seen social media justify the costs. I think I would just spend more on buyer PPC. Seller PPC does not work well. You end up usually paying 3 to 4 times as much, and the conversion tends to be at least half of buyer PPC. So you're spending way more, getting less. I would avoid it. So buyer PPC for the win, no matter where you're getting it. Sierra, Ylopo, Commissions Inc., Boomtown, any of the ones that you're getting it from. So
I love it, and I think that PPC game is it's a must do for anybody, but it is not. It is not going to provide the fruit that you need it to in the first year. And if you have people that you need to get fed with a little more immediacy, it's not going to happen with pay-per-click.
Amen. And if you're only sending it to your agents, you're going to have different conversion rates than if you have a full-time ISA.
Yeah. Daniel Rude in Hawaii says this, his last 2 pay-per-click leads were that he closed 4 million and 1.2 million. They were in their database for over 2 years.
There it is. 700 days.
Yeah. And we can all hate the fact that you're also in Hawaii and you have price points like that. Yeah.
Minnesota boy in Hawaii living the dream life.
That's right.
Love you, Daniel.
Okay. Number 7, we're still in long-term nurtures. Let's talk about farming, because Robby and I had a heated discussion about farming, and we actually came to a place in which we agree upon. Robby, why don't you like farming as a lead generation source?
Yeah, a lot of people get conned into spending and buying the postcards and sending postcards out over and over and over again, stuff like that. And that doesn't traditionally work because it's generic marketing that nobody remembers, and it just gets thrown away. So that's the common definition of farming. Farming is picking
a neighborhood or a subdivision, and you are going to essentially spam them for years until they go. Robby, I have a coaching client, and I love him. He's on month 13 of the farm. And as I'm looking at his P&L, I'm like, dude, you gotta cut your farm. He said, but they told me in year 2 is when it really starts to make money. It's what they told me in year 2. And I'm like, that sounds like a great way to get money from you for 2 years. You know, like he's like, but no, I got one phone call, and like, it becomes a drug that you're addicted to. And there's a better way to do farming. This is called tactical farming.
Yes.
All right. I want to give you 2 examples of tactical farming. The first is the 10-10-10 rule. 10 houses to the left, 10 houses to the right, 10 houses across the street. Let's say your buyer just lost out on a deal, or let's say you represented a seller and you got 10 offers on a property. No matter what the narrative is, I think you should go and knock on the doors, deliver great customized mailers to those folks, and send a message saying, we want a house in this area and we have people ready to pay over asking price for it. Okay. The more personal you can get, the better. So that kind of tactical farming, I think, works. Let's talk an even bigger play. I have a coaching client and good friend in our mastermind as well. His name's Colton Whitney. He shared with us something that's happening on his team. They took and they had 300 what looked like Christmas cards sent out to a neighborhood. This was a tactical farm, and it was a picture of the husband and wife and 2 kids on the front, and it says, help us find our dream home. On the back of it was a love letter written from the buyers saying, we're really struggling to find our house. We want to be in this neighborhood. We're willing to pay well over asking price, yada, 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 telling their story. And then it says, please call my realtor if you are interested in selling. They then included their proof of funds letter. They then included their willingness to pay well over asking price. They sent it to 300 houses, and they got a 2% response rate. They got 6 people to raise their hands. Ooh, you have my attention if you can get 6 sellers to raise their hands. And that is because it's not a generic farming piece. It is a tactical farming move. So if you are going to farm, and this is in the long-term nurture section, because we think of farming in that kind of capacity, I think this is a specific targeted, you got to do this move.
Amen. And I'll also name one more thing, Hatch, is authentic stories like that sell, and people can sniff out the BS. So authentic stories tell in that moment. So doing that work, customizing it is key.
Yeah, it really does. Here's where we're moving to, is we're moving to reputation, number 8, 9, and 10. Robby, I'm going to have you take number 8, GLS. This is a reputation game, and it matters a lot.
Yeah, this is where basically Google and Zillow started playing war with each other, was over GLS. Google Local Services is when somebody Googles best realtor or best real estate agent or some type of search term like that in Fargo, North Dakota. What happens is now at the very top of the page, it shows 3 different profiles. And on those profiles, it has Erik's face and then 2 others. And then it shows your Google reviews, your Google My Business account for your business. It shows your reviews and your total rating. So Google Local Services really is partially dependent on the quality of your profile. And what it really comes down to is a team that has thousands or hundreds of reviews, and far more than person number 2 or 3 is going to get their out, they're going to out punch everybody else. Because the way we're trained, because of Amazon and the world we live, is we're trained to pick the best reviewed and the most reviewed product. And people rarely select number 2 or 3, except in some, extenuating circumstances. Maybe they don't like Erik, or they maybe think that they'd rather work with this guy, or he looks nicer, or whatever it may be. Most of the time, they're going to go with somebody that's the best reviewed. So Google Local Services was launched about a year ago, give or take.
It's the last 18 months, and it's existed across industries, but Google has licked their lips, and they said, we're going to stop getting $3 a lead from Zillow, and we're going to capture all this. And Google is the most important platform for realtors right now, and most are behind the 8 ball on this.
Yeah, it used to be all about getting Zillow reviews, because again, the major search algorithms use Zillow reviews as the legitimizer of what it would look for when somebody searched these terms, which is a very common search term. And then what happened is Google said, no more. We're going to start prioritizing Google reviews. And then Zillow got pushed down the page. So
yeah. So number 8, GLS, Google Local Services. If you're interested in it, just type into Google Local Services, and they can get you lined up with a representative. There are some companies out there that can handle that for you, or it's something you can do yourself. And there's positives and negatives to both sides of that. We've done both, and it's a pay to play kind of mantra, and it's going to get more expensive. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's going to keep going up in price. Yep.
Okay. Number 9 parallels this. Remember, we're talking about reputation now on our list of 10 ways in which you can add business and buy business and get the right lead sources. Number 9 are reviews. And whoa, is the review game important? I would rank review engines in this order. Number 1, Google. Number 2, Zillow. Number 3, Facebook.
Yep.
That's the order I would put it in. 12 months ago, I would have told you Zillow was number 1. I don't know where Facebook is going to show up on this in the future, but it is just a platform where everybody is. And some of you are like, well, this person's not on Facebook. Well, I'm not concerned about that person. I'm concerned about going where the masses are. Daniel asked about Yelp reviews. Daniel, you're in Hawaii. And if I go to Hawaii, I'm going to use Yelp to figure out everywhere I need to go. If you're in Fargo, you don't Yelp. And so it depends on the area in which you're at. I know that some people really crush on Yelp, but I would still put it as a lower priority than Google. That's for certain. And so what's great about Google is, and don't try to cheat the system. Don't get a bunch of realtors to review you. It's not going to work that way. But instead, you need to find people who have a relationship with you. Different than Zillow, this person had in Zillow, they have to have some sort of business relationship with you. So they have to be a buyer or a seller or someone you've met with and showed homes to. On Google, it can be somebody who knows of your reputation and thinks that you're fantastic. So that is really, really important in which to make sure that people are reviewing in the right spots. Spencer talks about he has no Zillow or Facebook reviews, basically. How do you get them to leave it on all? I think it's really easy. I love competitions. I love challenging our folks to say, we're collecting reviews for the end of the week. So we have 7 days to get reviews. I'll entice my team members to go and get it. And we'll say, hey, if you can get people to review you on Google and Facebook and on Zillow, and you send them the links for all 3 of those, their name is going to be entered into the drawing 3 times. You can incentivize your team members, you can incentivize your clients, but a short burst of focusing on reviews will help you to rise that tide. And you're going to have to do those short bursts every couple of months as they add new people in. Robby, you're hot on reviews. Am I missing anything here?
No, I'll just say that as a normal procedure, I would pick the one that you need the most right now. And that's where your focus should go. So just as a day-to-day, if you ask most of your past clients to do all 3 all the time, they're more likely to do none, unless you're putting extra touches into it. I think asking them to do it after closing, I wouldn't say, hey, review me on Facebook and on Google and on Zillow. I would pick the one that you need to fill up. The other thing you should know is Bing uses Facebook reviews, which is really funny. And I mean, Bing is only about 5-ish% of the search market compared to Google. Google, of course, uses Google, and Zillow reviews on Zillow matters.
Yeah. The review game matters. And the best analogy Robby and I use is when you shop on Amazon for something, you look not always for the thing that is priced the least expensive, but you instead look for the thing that is reviewed the most. If you do happen to get a bad review, it is not the end of the world. Your intentional response to it will make a grand difference. So don't be afraid of a bad review or two. Don't just try to bury it. And you should also, on Google especially, respond to every single one of your reviews, and not just the same thanks for the review kind of cheesy thing. If you're going to be found on Google local services, and if you're going to be relevant in this reputation game, you have to get way more reviews than everybody else. Yeah. We're ahead of the pack in our markets, and we're going to stay there. I even know there's some Fargo people not on my team watching this, and that's so awesome that they're here, but they're not going to catch us because we got started way earlier, and we're really intentional with it. So Natasha Hayes says that Bing pulls Yelp reviews also. So interesting. But 5% of people are at Bing. So that's like Robby's prom, right? He asked 20 people and 1 person said yes. So hey, we're almost out of time. I got number 10 for you. Robby, you had something though.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for when I look at our Google reviews, we have 424. The next highest is 151. Yeah. People always ask how many do I need. You need to have more than second by a wide margin is really what it comes down to. Yeah, that's really it. Also, by the way, people rarely read reviews anymore. They just look at the reviews. They don't actually go and read them. That's pretty rare. So
yeah, they'll read the bad ones. All right, number 10 on reputation, and the end of our list, we're talking about YouTube. And this is an area that I currently am not crushing. If you go into our Hatch coaching archives, you're going to see, this is on YouTube. You're going to see I did a webinar with a guy named Tim Macy a few months ago, and we talked about the importance of YouTube and the strategies for it. I'm not going to try to regurgitate Tim's thoughts, but I will tell you that when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to radio, I have my own radio show. I also use a company called Rate Radio and Television Experts, which has been great for me to get endorsements and great for me to become an authority in my area. You have to understand that reputation business, somebody feels like they know you. And so when they call, you don't necessarily have to be an A+ converter. I mean, you should always be an A+ converter, but when somebody calls and they know of your reputation and they feel like they're in a relationship with you or you're endorsed by somebody else, you don't have competition. They're there to say, you're the best. This is who I need to work with. And I need to work with the best. And YouTube is that long-term game, as we talked about, of being remarkable. You can celebrate and be the champion of your community. You can be the champion of real estate, but what you shouldn't be is a giant pot pie with all these different things thrown in. And you're just hoping that they like the one, right? You need to figure out what your message is and to be repetitive and duplicative on that. Anything else to add with YouTube here, Robby?
No, nothing.
All right.
Can I give a number 11, Hatch?
Yeah, let's go number 11.
Goes underneath PCSOI. So it should be number 4. Referral groups is a big one that a lot of people end up doing, and it helps build the foundation of the business. So that might be something for you all to consider as well. Getting leads from referral groups.
I like that. I like that a lot. As I told you, we only have one pitch and it's a call to action. We have a boot camp. We're doing a lot of boot camp series right now. And so every 4 weeks or so, we're doing a deep dive into a specific topic. We have a high producing agent boot camp, and this is so good, so gold, so important to help people be 6-figure agents, whether you're a solo agent or partner with other people. If you're already making 6 figures, I promise you, you're going to walk away with some things that are going to help you sell even more houses. And we want to provide that as an opportunity for you. So I put this in the chat box. Those of you watching the replay here on YouTube, you can go find that over at hatchcoaching.com/bootcamp. And with that, we are about out of time. We're going to keep bringing webinars to you. We have a couple great ones coming up here, partnering with some of our allies, as well as bringing you some new content. So our goal is to do a webinar every week or two, and we're going to keep sending it your way. So on behalf of Robby T, I'm Erik Hatch with Hatch Coaching. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in, beautiful people.
Peace, y'all.